I ain't done this in a while. How long has it been now? When did we talk last?
I think we spoke May 2023, so that's
8
nearly a
months.
year ago.
And how things have changed.
A lot has changed in that year.
But to start off with, like, I want you to like rate my interior design. How do you think I did?
I would give you a solid 8
Okay.
out of 10.
What would you change?
I just add a bit more colour.
What you love a bit of colour, don't you?
Fun frames.
Yeah.
But no, actually, it's your aesthetic and no. It's appealing to the eye. I like it.
Okay, good. It
Yeah.
only took me a week to do that.
A week.
A week, yeah. How long did you have in your challenges on the show?
2 days max.
Two
If you
days.
start, and we had to do everything in those 2 days. And if you didn't have it done, you're not doing
But
it.
was it actually 2 days though, or did they say 2 days?
100% 2 days.
Really?
Your old time. So, say for example, your trades weren't ready in time, so you had to start a bit later.
Yeah.
Everyone was timed.
Gotcha.
So you all had the same amount of time.
Gotcha. So thanks for coming back to see us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
You know what? It's always a pleasure. I just wish you came back to see us a bit more often.
I've been busy, darling.
Well, actually, yeah, I should start by saying congratulations
Thank you very
on
much.
your recent success on Interior Design Masters. And I think, well, for me personally, when you left, I was like, she's gonna go on to do great things. But when you left, I didn't actually know you were gonna go on to do the show. But now you've done it, I'm like, yeah, like she's won, like, yeah, I knew she was going to do great things. But I just want to like kind of like take it back a bit to first of all, just give us like a brief like overview in terms of like how did you get into interior design? Like when did that journey kind of start for you?
I'd say it was, to be honest, I've always had a creative streak in me, and I didn't know how to express it and what avenue I wanted to go down. And then it wasn't until obviously, with everything that happened with the pandemic, we couldn't send anybody out traveling and stuff like that. So I actually went home during that time, and my parents were building this house, and I just was like, Mum, I think you should do this. Oh, what about that? What about this? And it just spiraled out of control. And then it wasn't until I came back and things started picking up and we started sending people back to America. And I realized this is what I need to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I set up my Instagram account, and Jess, my manager, was like, Sheen, you need to go and pursue interior design. So I actually applied to go to uni, got rejected because I didn't have enough experience. So that was like a rejection, and especially when you're in the creative industry, it's always subjective and people are judging your work and stuff. And I was like, no point. What am I doing? What am I doing? But I didn't give up. I seen the application to apply for interior design master. I was like, do you know what? Why not? I've got nothing to lose here. I'm gonna go to uni at a different university. I'll find one. I'm gonna change my career this year, so let's just apply and see where it takes me. And I got on, and here I am.
Which uni rejected you?
Yeah, Manchester Met. So it was what was it called? The School of Art, Manchester School of Art.
Ah,
I know,
I bet.
but it was under Manchester Met,
Gotcha.
and I was like, it is just crazy though, because I was
Yeah.
thinking, what about an 18-year-old trying to figure out what they
What
wanted
do
to
you-
do, and they're leaving school and then they're going into university. You can't do interior design at school.
Mm.
And it took me ages to get a response for them with like feedback or why I didn't get on. But I was like, you just knock a person down before they even started,
I know
And I just
exactly.
thought, I was 30, I got experience, I just didn't know the technical side of
Mhm.
it. And for me, I don't think you can teach interior design. I
Okay.
think you've either got it or you don't, and you can just evolve and develop from that point.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was a bit of a shocker, and not to expect to get on, but I was just thinking like, I felt sorry for anyone just leaving school and then
Yeah.
wanting to go into it. They've got no hope in hell.
Fair. So obviously, there's gonna be a lot of people watching this who are obviously fans of yours. They've seen you on the show. So can you just give people like a brief description of what it is you did for Camp Leaders before you left to go on the show? So what is it like? What do we do?
So when I started Camp Leaders, which was, oh, when was it? 2000 and
I don't know.
I don't know, I've been here a long time. So it was coming up to my 6th year, and I did camp. I started on Camp Leaders. I did a bit of Camp Canada. I don't know if you want me to go
Yeah,
into
you
all
can
this.
just go for it.
Camp Canada, I worked on Adventure China, and then I came back to Camp Leaders, and I was doing Camp Leaders Ireland before I left. So I did, I think, 2 seasons of that.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it. I have a massive passion for travel and a massive passion for Camp Leaders and everything it does. And it just led me on to this to follow my kind of dream and my career. And really, without working at Camp Leaders and without traveling and figuring out what I actually wanted to do, I wouldn't have got to the point I'm at.
Well, that's good to hear because I think because obviously I did camp as well. But when I did camp, I wasn't thinking I want to do camp and I'm gonna work with children for like the rest of my life. It was kind of like this is an amazing experience. I'm gonna go off to America, work with children for a summer, see how it
Yeah.
is. But then it kind of like you do that, and then it does like kind of like spark off different things within you. So for example, when I went, that's when I found out that I was really into like photography and videos. So like
Yes.
even though going there to work, I was going to work with kids, but like I didn't want to do that as a career or anything. But I found like another avenue that camp gave me,
Yeah.
and I assume like similar situation for you as well.
Yeah, 100%. It for me, I was the exact same. I didn't go to camp thinking I'm going to work as a primary school teacher or secondary school. For me, camp was just figuring out what I wanted to do or what I wanted to be in life, and no pressure. Just to give me a bit more buffering time, because I think when you leave school, you're thrown into the deep end, like sort your life out immediately. And it's taken me 10 years to get to the point I wanted to be at, but I didn't know until I'd done all of that life experience. I went traveling, I figured out kind of what I was about, and I know I love working with people and being around people and being in a creative industry, but I just didn't know how to get there. And camp allowed me to go into this world of traveling, and it gave me a few more years to figure out what I wanted to do. And obviously, who doesn't love traveling and going
Yeah.
around the world and just winging it? But it was also a time for me to find out who I am. I think we're 18, finish school, or 16 or whatever, and you're just thrown into, right, you need to be an adult now, just figure out life. And that shouldn't be the case. Figure out who you are, what you want to do, and if you still don't know what you want to do, that's absolutely fine.
Hmm.
There's no rush.
Yeah.
Just take it easy. It'll come to you. Well, it has now, thank God.
So before this, you were talking about how you'd travel to places and you'd kind of be like inspired by like the
Yeah.
architecture of different, like, can you just delve into that a bit more? Like, give us some stories of like anywhere you went that you kind of like were inspired by in terms of your interior design.
Yeah, I think my now husband, who I met at camp,
Mhm.
a lot of great things have come from camp for me. But we went traveling after camp, and I was just like to Ollie, we're going here. Whether the food was nice or not, it looked amazing. So I had to see the interiors of that place. And at that point, I didn't know I wanted to be in interior design. I didn't know that was the career path I was going to go down. But I was just fascinated with seeing interiors, good interiors, architecture, different buildings, old buildings. I was more focused on that than I was in like the country itself. It sounds
Yeah, yeah,
weird,
yeah.
but I was determined to go and view those places because of you know
Yeah.
what it looked like. But I think that was a big driving force for me. Whenever I'm deciding where I want to go travel, I'm like, oh, have they got like a really nice restaurant that I can take
Yeah.
inspiration from? I take inspiration from everywhere I go.
Hmm.
So the more places I travel to, the more inspiration I get.
It's funny you say that though, because like, well, this isn't interior design, this is more exterior design, I guess. But like, I remember reading something when you go on holiday, you're going to like new places, always look up and look at the buildings because like
Yes.
people miss that because obviously you're just walking down the street looking straight ahead, but actually when you look up, that's where like you see a lot of like the beauty
Oh
of
yeah,
like the
100%.
architecture and the buildings and stuff. So it's amazing to hear that you have the same thing, but like obviously for like interior designs and stuff.
Oh, 100%. And I'm really into old
Yeah.
buildings, old stuff. I'm
Uh,
not a modern girl. I'm not a modern girl. I just think it's so fascinating
yeah.
how they used to do that kind of
Yeah.
stuff, and like the real craftsmanship and the skill levels that used to go into that. And they used to do it back in
Yeah.
the day. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
It blows my mind. Blows my mind.
So now talking more about your interior design journey.
Hmm.
'Cause I remember when we spoke, you made a big point of like it felt like the right time to like move on with your journey. But obviously not everyone starts their journey by going on the BBC TV show.
No.
So obviously that was like a big, huge step for you. So what made you feel like that was the step that you need to take? Like what made you feel like you were ready to do that?
I think not thinking about it was the way forward, because
Mhm.
I think how many times can you say think, but we can all overthink things, and then we put ourselves off and think, oh well, I'll do it next week, or I'll do it next month, or no, that's too much. And that's one thing with traveling. When I used to return back to the Isle of Man, my friends would say, like, how did you do it, why did you do it, like, did you have enough savings? And I was like, no, I had hardly any savings when I went traveling. But I was like, if I thought about it, I'd put myself off and I'd be saving for years. And then I'm 30 or 40 and I'm like, oh, I never went traveling and now I'm settled. I think you just have to go for it. And I feel like if an opportunity like that comes your way, you have to run with it.
Yeah,
Take it, because who knows what's going to come from it.
exactly.
And it's only going to be a really good learning experience. For me, everything you do in life is a learning experience. And I don't, even with camp, it's not for everybody, but you're going to gain amazing experiences, friendships, something you've learned about yourself. You're only going to gain something amazing from it. So I think you just have to give everything a go and you learn more about yourself each time.
Yeah, and it's just amazing that you say that because obviously it's all worked out for you. Like you took that chance and like, but even if it hadn't, it's like you wouldn't know until you take the plunge.
Yeah.
And even like if you applied, you didn't get on the show, or if you applied, you got on the show and didn't win the show. Like as you say, like it's still all a learning experience. And like
100%.
that's the only way you're gonna grow and really progress is like if you take those chances.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's something that I've been trying to keep in my mind because obviously like we're around the same age, and as you get older, you start to think more about you gotta like you don't have all the time in the world, like
Yeah.
if you want to do something, go out there and
Just
do
do
it.
it.
You don't know what's gonna happen, like something amazing can come from it, but you don't know until you try. So that's maybe something I'm trying to keep in the back of my mind. And I think like not to sound cheesy or anything, but like you've kind of been an inspiration for me. Like see like having someone so close who's like obviously we had that conversation and like you went away and you did it and like you've won the show now. It's just like it can be done.
It can
Like
be done.
yeah, so now seeing you do it, I'm like, okay, I can go off and
Of course
do my
you
own
can.
thing. Yeah. So thank you for that.
You're very welcome. It's just like, why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Why not?
Why not? Exactly. So speaking more about the show, can you just give us like a brief rundown in terms of like the application process? Because I feel like that's something that not everyone is privy to, like how long or how hard it is to actually get on to a BBC show.
It all happened quite quick, to be honest. I put in my application, and applications they have it on their Instagram where you can apply and stuff like that. And it's a really straightforward application form. And then it was only a few days after, and I got an email saying we'd love to have a call. And it's just, I think it's about 4 or 5 rounds of like interviews, but they just need to make sure you are ready for what you're doing. You've got everything lined up because if you do get through each week, it can be a long time that you need to be prepared for that. So it is a really good vetting process and it's quite seamless, to be honest. I think I applied in start of April and I found out start of May that I was on the show.
So really? It happened that quick?
It happened that quick. And to be honest, I loved that because it didn't give me time to think about it and freak out and go, oh my God, I'm applying to be on a BBC show like in front of the public. But you didn't feel like that, especially the amount of support you got each round. And obviously they were so lovely. And I just thought, if they didn't like me, they wouldn't get me onto the show, and like they liked my work, they liked what I could bring to the table. So I just trusted in that and I went with the flow and yeah.
I have a question for you. So if you didn't get onto the show, would you have left your job?
Yes.
You still would have?
I still would have left my job. And for me, the reason why it's hard because I loved my job and I was comfortable in it, but I knew it wasn't the career I wanted in the long term. And if I'd kept being here, Camp Leaders, that was my comfort blanket and I loved my little comfort blanket. I needed to rip that out from underneath me. I always say I need to drown before I can thrive. So I would have still gone to uni in the September. I think I was going to go to Salford Uni in the end. And I would have got a job like, maybe an evening job in hospitality or something like that where I didn't have as much of an emotional connection to. So I knew I had to put my all into interior design because I was so comfortable here and I loved it. It was a massive part of my life,
Something you hear a lot, people saying like they're in jobs where they feel a bit too comfortable and they're not getting like pushed outside their comfort zones anymore and people become a bit like stagnant,
Yeah.
And I think, as you say, like having that comfort blanket is you can easily get sucked into that because it is so comfortable. Like, but I think, I mean, as we've been talking about, like if you want to progress, if you want to grow, like you have to kind of like step out and do something different. And it may not be something as drastic as like leaving your job or changing jobs. It can be something within your job.
Yeah.
That you do something a bit differently.
Or like in your social life, or if you're wanting to get to a run club, just go for it. It's like, for me, my type of personality, I'm a comfort creature. Is that the right thing? I love my comfort.
Yeah.
So I knew I wouldn't get where I wanted to if I still kept it, you know. And I was just like, I'm 30 this year. This was last year. I'm 30 this year. If I don't do it now, I'll never do it.
Yeah.
I need to go all in, otherwise it's not going to happen for me.
Yeah. And something I would like to say, actually, speaking on the show and stuff, like, I think it's the way you're portrayed on the show is how you are in real life. Like, I know, like, people say this all the time, but, like, obviously knowing you personally, like, the way you are on the show is just exactly how you are in real life. Like, the way that you were, like, so funny, especially with Anna Carr, you had this conversation with Anna Carr. I was like, I've had similar conversations with Rishi myself. Like, so like, that was amazing.
Slating me.
No, not at all. But also like the way you go into other people's rooms and like you speak like so positively about them, like is always just. I was like, yeah, that's
Oh,
machine. So,
thanks,
like,
mate.
I'm glad that that came across to people.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I was always like, I need to go into this being me, because if
Yeah.
I fake it, even with the interview process,
Yeah.
I was like, just be you, Rasheen, because then they're not getting a surprise. I'm not letting anybody down. And I was like, just be you.
Yeah.
And that's all I could ask for. And even me squeal, I didn't realize I squealed and made so many noises. And I do. I even at home, I'm constantly just like, I'll walk into a room and go, you know. I mean, I'm like, why do I do that? I just get excited, clearly. But yeah, no, I just try to be as me. And you also forget you're
Yeah,
being filmed all the time.
exactly.
You know, I was just so focused on the build and getting my design done that I didn't kind of care about what else was going on.
I'd like to take some kind of glory from your success, just because I think from the first time we did a video together, I said to you, I was like, you've got something. You've got to.
Hey.
I hope you remember that. I did say to you, you've
you-
got something special. I can probably find the clip somewhere. I said to you, you got something special, and now you're off doing amazing things.
Oh,
So like,
thanks, you. That's
I'd
so
like to, you know,
sweet.
yeah. So it's all down to me why you're doing so well.
Yeah, I think so. If it wasn't for you, this wouldn't have happened.
Exactly.
Oh, that's cute though. Thank you.
But no, I always knew that you were gonna do amazing things. So I'm glad that's all panned out.
Thanks, mate. You'll have to find that clip.
Yeah, I'll find it somewhere. Maybe I didn't record it, but I definitely I remember distinctly saying it to you that
Oh, that was
you had
cute.
something. So speaking about the show, what would you say was your highest high? Like when were you like the most like ecstatic on the show?
I think my highest high on the show would have to be winning standout space at Wembley. You know, it was having Sophie Alex there, you know, saying that she adored my space was just like, I'm sorry. Not like who were you,
Yeah.
just like you're saying you were stood in my room for one and you loved it, and I was just completely shocked, and I loved that space. And that was the moment where I was like, Machine, you need to listen to your gut more. You need to stick to your guns and go for it, because usually it's right. And with this industry, you always self-doubt is always like imposter syndrome. It's awful. But I just stuck to my guns, and I was like, even with my teal ceiling, they were like I spoke to my mom, and she was like, do not go dark in the ceiling. It's such a low ceiling. I was like, no, it's gonna be able to carry it off. It's got a lot. It's surface space. It's a large space, even though the ceiling was so low. And it worked. It paid off, and because I knew it was going to, but I could let those doubts, you know, come into my. Not saying my mum put doubts in my mind, but you know, you can really fall down a trap with all of that. So no, I think the highest was definitely getting standout space with Sophie Alex.
I was just gonna ask about that actually. Like, what's it like getting feedback and critique from people who are like juggernauts in the industry? Like, what does that feel like?
Unreal.
Yeah.
Absolutely unreal. Getting that kind of feedback, it's priceless. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're never going to get that again. And to have a portfolio like that, I was non-cell Wembley Arena, Blenheim Palace. Like, I've done such variety of designs, which I'd never get to do in the real world. And then to get that feedback alongside it is just unreal. All the feedback was amazing. Like, I know on the sofa experience, you only get to see a couple of minutes, but we do have a really great chat with Michelle and whoever it's going to be, like Shane Brady, Sophie Robinson. I wasn't on the sofa with Sophie Robinson, but she came and chatted to us after, and that feedback, yeah, invaluable. It's amazing.
And then what would you say is the feedback that kind of sticks with you the most?
The main bit of feedback that sticks with me the most has to be less is more sometimes, and Kelly Hopkins said something. She was like, stand back and take one thing out. And it's so hard. People don't realize how hard it is, especially for someone who's more into maximalism. But I like to call myself like a refined maximalist. And I started doing that after that point. I was just like, right, okay, stand back, machine. What can you take out? and it took a lot out of me to do that. I was like, oh my God. And I think if I went in with the same attitude as I did at the start into the end brief, I think the whole place had been cluttered and full of stuff, but I actually really refined it, and then Michelle did pick up on that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my biggest learning curve.
I mean, to be able to like, because what's the length of time they film the show in? How long are you filming for?
As in, like, on a week,
As in like the entire show, how long did that take to film?
like the whole from start to
From
finish,
start
like
to
the
finish?
first brief to the last.
Yeah.
So you have 1 week off, 1 week on. So if you're in it for that long, it could be up to 16 weeks.
16 weeks. But even then, like 16 weeks and having, well, doing all those interior designs, but also getting feedback from all those different people within that short space of time is obviously like something you've probably never experienced before. And like
Nope.
having that amount of feedback from people who are very respected within that industry must have been like, that's like gold dust.
Yeah, it really is. And although I didn't realize that a creative block is a thing. Oh my Lord. I think you spoke
I
about
have looked
creative
back,
blocks.
I have.
And I was like, Byron's hit the nail on the head there, because that is what I've been getting. It's
Mhm.
really, especially when you're like one brief done, then you're through, and then you've got to take that feedback on and
Yeah.
apply it, and then you've got to think of a new. But you've just got to keep those creative
Keep.
juices flowing, and that's what was getting me to. I was like, if I get through one more week,
Yeah.
amazing. But if I don't, that's absolutely fine. I'm a big believer. If it was my time to go, it was my time to go.
Mhm.
But it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. You
Just
went right
kept
to the
going.
end.
Just kept going.
So on the flip side, because obviously you're out now, you've won the show, like roses, everyone's happy, happy, happy. But
Yeah.
obviously when you're in that process, you are gonna have some lows. There are gonna be weeks that are hard. There are gonna be things that frustrate you, things that might make you upset. So what would you say was your lowest low when you was on the show?
I would say it was disappointing myself. I'm my own worst critic. So I remember Sheffield Week, and I was working right up to the end. Like, literally, they were like, "You've got like 5 minutes left," and I was like, and I had so much to do still, and leaving a space and not feeling accomplished with it. That was that eats you up massively, because you look back and, oh, I could have done that. I could have done this. I could have done that. And yeah, it does really grate on you, because being a creative, you're your own worst critic, and you want to make it sure it's perfect. So I'd say that, because you are exhausted, and I put a lot of pressure on myself each week to produce something amazing. And also, I wish I was just a bit more skilled in the fact I could sew better and stuff like that, because I couldn't sew a cushion, and it took me like 10 times longer than it would anybody else sewing a
Yeah.
cushion. And you don't have that time.
Mhm.
And being able to use SketchUp or use these softwares where you can draw up your space and
Yeah.
visualize it better, that would have been a lot handier.
But you know,
But
say that, but one of the things I appreciate about you and something that comes across in the show is like, I think you made a point of that you've never upholstered before, but there you are, like staple gunning things and you're upholstering. I'm just like, that's that's great. Like you're getting stuck in and like doing things you've never done before, and like that's coming across like really, really well. I felt like, and I felt that's very much in line with like who you are as a person.
yeah, I like to give things a go. And I thought,
Yeah.
if I'm going to get chucked out next week, at least I've learned how to upholster. I've had a bit
Yeah.
of confidence. I wanted to keep learning and evolving, because that is the whole point of interior design for me, is evolving constantly. And also, I tried to start thinking about me and the way I design. Everything is in my head. Even when I did my parents' house, it was all in my head. I never ordered samples. I never created mood boards. And I was seeing myself in a negative view, because, for example, Matt, he was amazing at rendering and doing SketchUp and stuff. And I was like, oh, I wish I could do that. But
Do
then I
that,
was like,
yeah.
if I relied on that too much, for me anyway, I could probably, well, I would rely on it too much, and
Yeah.
it could take away the magic that was going on in my head in a way.
Yeah.
So although each week my husband was like, what on earth are you doing? Like, he could never see my vision. He'd never tell me that. But after the week, he was like, Sheen, I didn't know where you were going with that. And I was like, it worked in my head. So then I just prayed and everything that would come out in the right way, you know?
That's why you say that as well, because obviously, as you know, I just bought property, and one of the things I wanted to redo is the bathroom. And for me, I can't visualize. So I went to Wix to get like a bathroom model made up, and he was asking me what I wanted, and I was just like, I actually don't have a clue what I want. And then at the end, he gave me. I'll actually show you after this. He gave me like a render of the finished bathroom, and I was like, that is not what I want. But I was one telling him what I wanted, and when it came, I was
Yeah.
like, that's not actually what I want. So like, I can't visualize.
But at least you know what you don't want.
Facts.
That learning curve. You
Yeah.
know what you don't want.
Facts.
Otherwise, you would think, oh, maybe, but
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
you
yeah.
don't.
And to be fair, like what he did, it's not terrible. It's just not what
Yeah,
I want. You know.
and it's going to direct you in the right way,
Exactly.
hopefully.
I hope so. Maybe you can come in and give me some pointers.
Yeah, I'll put pink all over the show, flowery ceiling. Yeah, why not? We'll do it.
We couldn't be more opposite in terms of like our.
Yeah, no, we couldn't. Couldn't.
You're one of the like most humble people I know.
Oh, stop.
You are, honestly, you are. But there must have been a point in the show where you're like, I could actually win this. So when did that point come for you? Or did you go into the show think like obviously you're not going in to lose, but you're in there with such amazing people.
Yeah.
But there must have been a point where you thought, okay, I can actually win this thing. Like this is it for me.
Well, I think it was probably going into the final.
Yeah.
I was up against Matt, and he is incredibly talented. And I just kept thinking, Roisin, just be true to yourself, and hopefully it works.
Mm-hmm.
And it was when I was viewing my space, like one of the decorators, Karen, comes in one of the rooms in the lodge, and she walked in and she just instantly cried. And I was like, have I offended you? But it's because of how she felt in that space.
Oh.
And she said, I've been working in this industry, I've been decorating for so many years, and a room has never brought me to tears.
Mm.
And that's whether I won in the final or won the program or not, that for me was a massive win.
Yeah.
For people to walk into a space and feel special is exactly what I want to achieve.
Mm.
And that was it. I was just like, okay, I'm done, and people came up to me after they viewed the space and everything, and they were saying it was so magical. And that is not in a big-headed way, but that's what I want to achieve. I want people to feel special. I want them to walk into a space and feel like they're getting a big hug. And the people who walked into that space said that.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they were lying to me. They could have been lying. But no, that was the win for me.
Yeah.
And then when they announced I'd won, I remember turning to Matt and saying, we've both won.
Yeah.
That's what I said immediately, because it didn't feel, it was weird. You know, when you've won like a running race when you were younger, or you win a little competition or whatever, you feel like you won. But for me, I felt like it was sounds cheesy, but it was the celebration of everything.
Yeah.
All the other contestants were there, and I just felt like that was our big moment to all celebrate what had just happened.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't feel like it was my win. It's really, really weird. I feel like it was a huge celebration for even everybody, like the whole crew and, the judges, and just that, yeah, it was a big celebration in a way.
Yeah. I mean,
that's how I felt.
Matt is a talented man. And I think the fact that his designs are so different to yours, there are gonna be people out there that will like root for you, but there will also be people that will root for him. And I think, as you say, like you're both winners. I mean, he won't be sure of
yeah, no, he's gonna smash the Imperial world. He is beyond talented. Yeah. Like I when I met Matt, I was just like blown away. I actually thought it was one of the tradies when I first met him. So funny. We all met, and I sat down. He was like, oh, because he works in a bathroom shop, like he designs bathrooms and everything as for his job. And I was like, all right, okay, so you're the plumber kind of thing. I was like, I don't think they have plumbers on the show, but anyway. And then the more we were talking, I was like, oh my God, you're a designer, and yeah, he's just so talented. The way he thinks of a space and everything like that. So it was funny in the final having someone who was completely the opposite to me. Like the two lodges, his was like, yeah, just completely different from mine. Mine was like this little flower bomb.
Yeah.
Did it. And his was like very sleek and minimalist. Yeah, he's very talented. Yeah, so being against him, but it was weird because when we were both talking to each other, it's like, I don't care if you win or I win. Like, we just felt so excited to be sharing it together. And if he won, I would have been buzzing. And he was buzzing for me.
Yeah. And also, like, I think your kind of relationship showed as well when you guys worked together. I can't remember what week it was. What was it again?
That was Cafes Week in Swansea.
Yeah, you get stand-up space for that as well. Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, who knows? I think we do want to work together in the future.
Oh, okay, that'd be amazing.
Watch this space. Hopefully.
I look forward to it.
Yeah.
So, what happens now for you? What's next? What's happening?
Who knows what's next? No, I'm an open book. I have a few exciting projects to come my way, hopefully. I'm just going with the flow. Yeah. And I'm just going to keep working hard. And I don't want to jinx anything, so I don't want to say anything, but I'm excited for the future and I'm just going to roll with it. That's my motto.
I mean, that's always been your motto.
Yeah.
I think that
Just go with the flow.
Yeah, it's never going to
Go with
change.
the flow, why not?
So in terms of rounding it back to kind of what we do here at Camp Leaders and Smaller Earth in terms of like culture exchange, what would you say you are taking with you from your, maybe from your experience working for Camp Leaders or maybe from your experience working at camps in China or America? What are you taking from those things into your interior design career?
Well, I'll just circle back. Like the statement is inspire people to go further. Is that still the statement?
Yeah.
So we always say inspire people to go further, and that has literally been ingrained in my head, and that's what we do, and that's what Camp Leaders has done for me. They've inspired me to go further. And when I went to China and I started working on the China program, I was literally working for Camp Leaders, and my colleague said, we need someone to go out to China. And I turned to him, I was like, I'd love to go to China. And he goes, you. And at that point I was like, oh my God, what have I signed myself up for here? And it was, you go out to China and be a director of a summer camp. I'd never been a director before. I worked as a waterfront director. And I just looked at him and I go, why not? 3 weeks later, I was in China. And then I ended up working on the program and then running the China program. And I went out to China the following year. I went out to Taiwan. That opened so many doors for me, which I didn't expect whatsoever. So being more of it sounds weird, but a free spirit and going with the flow and taking opportunities. And that is what I'm going to be taking into this new career and world of mine with interior design. Is like, if someone asks you to go for a coffee, go with them because they might know somebody. They might put you in touch with somebody. You just never know. So just say yes and be open to new experiences and push yourself out of your comfort zone. And even if it feels scary and maybe not right, but you do get that bit of excitement, that's a good feeling. People confuse being scared and excitement. None of those decisions were taken lightly. Don't get me wrong. I was at the airport thinking, what on earth am I doing? There was moments I was like, I need to come home. There's loads of moments. It wasn't a smooth ride, but I always like, I'm going to learn from this experience. So yeah, that's what I'm going to take into it. Just go with the flow.
Well, I think you've summed it up perfectly. But one more thing I would add is you need to come back and visit us more often.
I will. I promise. I'll come back and I'll redecorate the place.
Well, you know what? Someone had the idea. 'Cause I was like, Rashin's coming, like content ideas. I can't remember who said it. Someone from marketing, but they were like, "Oh, it'd been cool to like get Rashin to design our office." And if I had time, that'd have been like a really cool.
Yeah, could have done that.
Maybe I'll get you back in the future.
Yeah, who knows?
Why
not?
Who knows?
Why not?
But yeah, honestly, like everyone here is like so happy for you.
Oh, thanks, mate.
Wish you the best, and I'm sure you're gonna do amazing things.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
And thank you for having me back.
You know what? It's always a pleasure. Please come back whenever you like.
I will. Don't you worry.
Thanks.
If you like this video and you want to see more camp and travel content, make sure you like this video and hit subscribe.